Shirley here with Sirius Stellus Moon, Mars Day, Mars Hour. Mars 15 degrees Taurus in the 11th house. Ascendant 0 degree Cancer. Mercury 11th. Sun 18 degrees. Moon at the end of Pisces. Well, there is something unpeaceful. And it has to do with toxic patriarchal people. Again, patriarchal is fungi. Patriarchy, paterti. And Sun rules the heart. And this could be people that came from lineages where there was wedding at puberty. Lineages that did not honor the feminine. They maybe were idealizing the feminine. And a lot of them perhaps may have climbed up the ladder or became from marginalized to more included by applying to the patriarchal lines that have similar habits, let's say. And this is something about how should I say that? Twice when I was in Arad, Israel. It's a very beautiful village, but the theme that I ran into had to do with love. Is the love actually loving? And then I saw that being embodied, let's just say, even if there was how should I say that? The antidote to what people experience as limerence is basically not to be raped. Now, the feminine is used to internalize, and the masculine usually would externalize. When the feminine wanted to be, how should I say that? Um, um, but here is the thing. There was an issue of somebody who is way older than someone that was either trying to take all kinds of faces and forms, and he was permeating a family. Let's say a mother that lives with a daughter. And he was perhaps thinking that he has a right over something that he did, because this patriarchal behavior, and if that was something that was normalized in the culture, let's say Morocco is a very beautiful country, there's the blue city, there are the markets, but women, solo traveler women, BIPOC or not, don't feel safe. They don't feel safe there. If I look at the oil giants of the Islamic world, women run away from there even if they are courted by kings. Is because there's something there that is not honoring of the feminine. There's something there that tries to bargain, that tries to trade. It is not having an actual relation and therefore think it has the right over the feminine. This causes, for example, to the Jews that live there and developed these traits, it caused persecution to their lineages. And it caused them to be marginalized within Israel as well. You cannot expect a sovereignty and equity and equality when you dishonor the feminine. It's like you are showing disrespect to the woman, to the feminine, and you expect to be included as equal and being well treated in society. And I have the premise that they don't expect to be included as equal, that they want to overtake. And it's because they want to be the king over that they are being excluded. For example, when we had a lot of people glorify Georgia, the Jews that lived in Georgia, they used to have honor killing. When they came to Israel, Israel dealt with honor killing in Georgian communities. Everybody's like, oh, the West is collapsing, let's go to Batumi. Batumi probably is a lovely place. Because they see themselves as the patriarch, they cause complete and total working disability around them because it's impossible to be around such person. And then they try to paint the feminine as if they don't want to work, they don't want to this. No, rape is not work. Rape is not housing solution. Rape is not medicine. Rape is not intelligence, and rape is not politics. Ex-head of Mossad in Israel says the country is leading us to perpetual war. I woke up to read this news today. role of intelligence is not to generate perpetual war, but with intelligence that rapes its lines as training cannot generate sovereignty. I was very elegant and eloquent when I addressed the unification of the forces of the US and Israeli military forces and intelligence forces. First of all, we don't have another Gladio. So anything that merges here is merging to dissolve. It won't hold a century, let's just say it like that. And secondly, both of these lines are now being exposed because upon a leveling up, people have to deal. When I was thinking to level up in COVID, then I had no problem with taxes or paying taxes, but I began to see what happens when I need housing, what happens when I need to be safe and free from violence. And then, and I was not doing a taxation strike, not at all. My literal papers were by this patriarch that I rented apartment as tenant at in Arad. And he's harassing me. Using dark occult. Rape is not work. He was not offering a job. Rape is not work. And I was tenant. And he was harassing me in 2007 as well. It caused 2 decades of disability at work, crisis after crisis, and it causes his lineage persecution. It, it, it causes the loss of the sovereignty of everybody in his lineage for generations to come, except for those against rape. And how will the infants, how will the children learn love that's actually loving if they were born into lineage that is rapey, that is dishonoring? We are dealing with problems that, let's say, um, um, how should I say that? It is like a fungal, it's like a disease, okay? It causes disease, mental and physical. What do we call in the body? Something that is trying to cling, not to let go of a person from within, trying to take hold of the person. We call it a fungal infection, right? It's a pest. Something that tries to affect the choices of person by mind control. What do we call it? A pest, a fungal infection that we need pesticides. And this is unfortunately also how these lineages were treated, because, and it happened also in Ashkenazi lineages, it's a toxic patriarchal. Rape is not a job. And this is going to be vomited out of all the working sectors. This is why I is taking over. People are not able to work with patriarchal fungal causing bosses, colleagues. Rape is not help. Rape causes people to try to commit suicide. Bodily sovereignty is not joking matter. And I think people see it today. When a person cannot take care of their own hygiene because somebody is trying to go with the consciousness into their body, everything becomes disgusting. The source of disgust is that patriarchal fungal taking over the infant, trying to perpetuate helpless in people's life, to take over like a pest. Only a pest does that. אני אצא כמה שאני רוצה. אני שמחה שאת רוצה שקט, אני צריכה ריבונות. שיעזבו אותי גם בשקט. יפה, אמירו הזה רודף אחרי אנשים 20 שנה. את יודעת מה זה שבתוך הגוף שלך משהו מנסה להיות את? גם לי אין סבלנות לדבר הזה. Now, they were expelled and expelled and expelled, and they came to Israel, and they created the same dynamics here. Of course, it's being exposed. It's dynamics of a man that does not honor a woman. And they don't want to be equal, they want to overtake. A person runs away from their fucking apartment because they were raped. If I was raped by you, I cannot negotiate with you. It means that you're rapist, that I cannot see you, but my entire life I cannot see you anymore. It was to hunt them down with the other place that went over nothing. With such thing, nobody can live. Of course, they were expelled from here and expelled from there and expelled from there. They try to, how should I say that? The telos of a human being, man or woman, is to grow, to develop, to grow legacy, to have job satisfaction, life work satisfaction. That's the telos. Whereas no, people try to block that, to negate that, to try to collapse their. Nobody can live with that. It looks like people from the old time that were oppressing women and got genocided, depopulated, and so on and so forth, until women had rights and they learned how to treat women okay, because they would go, I don't know, to another country where they would not be able to be that road hero done, what basically means tyrannical. And then the women would grow, they would develop, and so on and so forth. But if a woman runs into that in her workplace or in her career or in her studies, and is a lineage that lineages where is human trafficking. If a woman say no, they try to traffic her using dark alcohol. What is that damn fuckery? That's why they got expelled from everywhere. And I'm here being eloquent. Now, when such things permeates the intelligence forces, it brings a disaster of international relations. This can bring in actual when I say entire humanity exterminated by a bombs unless we honor feminine. I say, I say because when that's on the menu, people understand that hey, something needs to be done. This big type of behavior it can't continue. But these people, they bring the able, they bring the actual able. Of course, a place can be a bombed when it's such. Power trip doesn't win over hearts. Also in the diplomatic international arena. Trying to control and maneuver and power trip over entire population is being a pest on the earth. It's a colonizing perception. And nobody stands colonizers. This is how, when people used to talk and say, surely your country is a colonizer, I said, what are you talking about? Such a tiny country. Say, oh, there are people that want the entire Eretz Israel. I say, yeah, people want. Also, when they go to the market, people want, I don't know how much money for certain item, and they say, okay, they can. But when I see this behavior, I understand what the people were talking about. Because it's such behavior that when you run into that in the workplace, when you run into that, then it permeates the goal and the vision of the company. Then you're not able to, you become sick. Where the telos of a human being is to actually make a contribution, be appreciated for the contribution, have work-life satisfaction, be able to have enough balance of rest and work. And when every such dream or vision is blocked, and so that people will come to the work that they offer, but they don't offer work, they offer trafficking. Then a person is already with working disability from all that trauma. Two decades. It doesn't show persistence, it shows stagnation, a fungal infection. Oh, יופי, תכף. And a person deals with that when they try to go to zone out, to go to their own space, and people try to permeate that space. And we deal with that outside, it's viral A-bombs. And when the American learns similar behavior, there is no way. There is no way you're gonna have sovereignty when you don't honor sovereignty. Not with your missy, not with your children. My mother did not know what was the Me Too around the Me Too. For 2 years, we were not in contact for that. Not with grudge, not with anything. I needed my space, my sense of self. But when I try to go out of the house and what I see is the patriarchal, fungal behavior towards me, where even landlord says, oh, where a woman can live alone, I don't have housing in this price range. So what do you expect would happen to your estates? And after that, the trust is eroded. The wound was not around the independence of the self to get along in the world. It was around people trying to collapse it to a place where they can't be independent. And then they try to patriarchally permeate, and that behavior induces cancer. What? Because on fungal infection grows cancer. And that behavior in merchants and economy, it induces lack of faith in the currency. This is why the dollar is below 3 shekels. And the shekel won't sustain for long like that. We're not an autarkic economy. We tried around begging to be autarkic economy. It collapsed. The only solution is resources that are shared, but for that we need to honor the feminine. Even the people that they sent on expeditions, on crusades. I am telling you, these people, the crusaders, they're not going there to convert the people. They're going there to escape those who sent them. These are the type of people that they will harass a person, then they would say to the person, oh, you're harassing me, oh, you're bugging me. Nobody got time for that. People go where rape is considered incompetence. I'm sorry, this is not a society where a woman can orgasm. And of course not, they will use to wedded puberty. I'm saying it outright. The housing is designed not for people to have good life satisfaction. They're not designed for the woman to be a happy, embodied woman where her joy, wealth from within is honored. And the man is a beautiful addition to that. Only in that situation can anything sustain. And to try to create a relations with two sovereigns in such economy is literally impossible. This is why when operations are run in that way, but everybody is against Israel is not anti-Semitism. They see this culture and they say, ugh. That's the high-tech nation, the most advanced nation in the world. First of all, the countries that live in the 2050s and 20, they also have problems. Half their populations are depopulated. Whether it was done by secular militants or what not. You know, there is a saying that talks about a tyrannical person, and it says, eventually, that person was reigning over a kingdom of sand, no people, over the grains of sand. It's causing desertification, by the way. Europe is now desertifying even. Mars. Pluto in Aquarius reminds us, with Saturn in Aries, that trying to create someone or something that would be in a subjugation position. This was actually the deacon where Lilith was exiled, and they created for Adam a woman from his own flesh and blood. That was Eve. And then square in Taurus, Eve hold the ripe apple. Um, but if Adam to begin with did not honor Lilith, and he did not learn to honor a woman, then he brings upon exile. And then blaming Eve for that. Now, what happens when the woman that is holding the ripe apple is not holding the ripe apple for Adam? Or what happened when this woman is not even holding the ripe apple? Pluto here takes the perceptions of sexuality and creation stories and from the core vomits out, composts out all of what is not honoring sovereignty. The attempt to demote people for their, let's just say, how should I say that? There's also physiognomy with Aries, facial physiognomy. Whether it's the raising discussion about the ritual of black facing in Europe or people pointing out the Jewish noses or um, there's an attempt to, how should I say, in the Renaissance, people would ask to paint their noses bigger to show power and dominance of as warrior qualities. Pluto here may remind us that um, how should I say that? Being warrior is not about dominance, but about sovereignty. A love that is not loving is not accepted in these timelines. Venupeter around Procyon. There's also an issue where if somebody, let's say, had a Mars in this Earth in 18-degree Gemini, is now opposing Lilith. If somebody was rapey with their actions or occult, then they might seek support from such a solar figure. But then both of them compound to the same. It's kind of like in black or in white, brown eyes or blue eyes is still the same issue. This is why when it came to something sexual, it couldn't be. There was attempt to polarize, to destabilize a person. And it can be that in 2007 that person was destabilized, and now instead of being destabilized, all of those societies that were behind murder of Madeleine and their practices, so whether a person was a member of the society or was just their practices that were resembling or affected by that society, talked about St. Ilgen, then these things are, they're no longer in the hidden. The dark occult, people criticize the dark occult that was used by the Epsteinis and was used, and the dark occult also by Israel now, because they mix with the identities. I don't know to say for sure where is dark occult arriving from, but the fact that Israel does not defend from what I saw for this energy is enough for me to see that they're still permeable because of those things. And in my country, Netherlands, they had case of boycott. Such thing in Netherlands as well happened. And yes, Uranus is in 12th house of 1800 chart. 12th house is hospitals. Also with uses of torture and electricity. To traffic people, what we call MK Ultra, um, is showing its rare. Yesterday I did episode. I warned some colleagues, and the reason I don't say names is not because I don't honor and respect your work here, but because, um, how should I say that? It's a general, it's a general thing. It's not a personal thing. But I see people delving into mundane astrology, the astrocartography of what leaders and so on and so forth. There was an episode that I did not publish around astrocartography with the Rahu lines of, okay? Um, if you're delving into territories, in a way, the fact that astrocartography was patented as a term is good because there was use of astrocartography to electric shock and traffic people, or to sexually violate and traffic people. Like if I was astrocartographer today, I would think twice and thrice before offering consultation services, so not to be seen as a part of MK Ultra. This is why I called out MK often. You see, when there's still a rational player in front of you, then they can warn, they can give the heads up, they can say, but if that person is, I don't know, whether electrocuted or tortured or raped or whatnot, you're no longer dealing with a rational player. Their consciousness is elsewhere and they don't know where they are not present in their body. Like, that is MK Ultra. And that's hackable. We saw the shootings in the White House. That's the result. That's the investments of the White House compounding. The equivalent of the 401k of the White House, which is classified project budget, was compounding to boom. And the intelligence cannot blame the country, okay? The Mossad cannot blame the state when the Mossad is trying to run the state. And is not honoring femininity. Okay. People are impatient because in Eris there is no tolerance to rape. And it overrides all other things. Okay, like I said, around the Me Too, I took 2 years off from my own mom. That I was not allowed to live outside the house and rehabilitate the relationship with enough space because of the rape culture. Now it compounds to, and there's no psyop that can make the image of Israel look good in the world as long as there are those things that limit person's growth, person's abilities. They try to permeate to create bad things with person's mental well-being. Where the women that were climbing up the ladder were climbing up the ladder by participating in, which I refused to do. This is not a culture, it is. And in Eris, people cannot use the community rights as a bypassing excuse for individual human rights. And the I am is about genders. This type of behavior, wherever it is, if it is in the East, then it would make the East look bad. If it is in the oil giants, it makes the oil giants look bad. If it is in the White House, it makes the White House look bad. If it is in Israel, it makes Israel look bad. It's a tautology. And nowhere in the world is that tolerated. This is why I thought even in Thailand, and I'm not saying Thailand is perfect, they have child trade. That's why the Israelis came there to begin with. Where people say, oh, my money builds your country. Young girls say, what is this behavior? This behavior is patriarch of... What did you, how was that money made? Americans, when they arrive to Europe, the only complaint about them is that people don't know what they think because they are so nice. On Israelis, we could say, oh, Israelis tell the truth. It's like they say what it is, but then people say the truth back to Israel, and I said this behavior would. Now, a lot of people, what I see, let's say, Islamic cultures and traditions, or the more adjacent, the hospitality, let's say. A lot of people are very, very fascinated by this warmth and openness. But when they see the women run away from this type of patriarchal behavior, they will begin to not like Islam. Because it begins with, at first, yes, traditional people, of course, you can wear, but it doesn't stay like that. And then it becomes more evident that the people that do still advocate for, either they are new or they are traffickers. So a video of a person runs into the most Orthodox community of Israel and says to them, hey, can I buy you lunch? People would think that they are about to be poisoned. Stops people in the street. Everybody in the comments say to them, if you would offer me that, I would run away. I wouldn't know. If you stop a person for a couple of questions and they're willing to, and say, oh, it will be kosher, it's like, that's not. And Uranus Gemini is the time where those who do not honor the feminine, they deal with